Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to my guests, Steve Coulter and Marko DeSantis,
Hello.
respectively of Czar and Rydell High and Brother Steve, among other things. And then, of course, Marko from POPSICKO, Sugar Cult, and a whole host of other things. But we are here to talk about POPSICKO. And the reason we're talking about POPSICKO above any other reason that we'd just be talking about POPSICKO anyway is because POPSICKO has a new release coming out, which is special.
Well, new old stock.
Right.
So POPSICKO was a band I was in the early to mid '90s. So going way back to the early chapters of the Santa Barbara scene. And it was me myself. I played bass in the band. Mick Flowers on drums. Tim Cullen, whose T-shirt you're wearing right there. Tim Cullen on lead guitar and some vocals, and then the lead singer was a guy named Keith Brown. And Keith Brown unfortunately passed away shortly after our one and only record came out. But Keith actually grew up with Steve Coulter here. So we're all very enmeshed. And if you remember, the way we met Coulter was when Luke and me were in a band before POPSICKO, when we were teenagers, called the Lost Kittens. And Lost Kittens played a show with a band called The Wonderfuls that was Steve Coulter on drums, Keith Brown on lead vocals, Greg McIlvaine, now of the Hollow Trees, great band, on guitar, and Dan Kern, who was also in a band with Steve Coulter called Czar years later. Dan Kern played bass in The Wonderfuls. So it was like The Wonderfuls and Lost Kittens kind of merged and became what became POPSICKO.
So if anyone's doubting the reason for Steve Coulter to be sitting here, there you go. He's easily just as much an authority on the topic today as anyone else. And also the reason Steve is here is because Steve wrote this piece that's coming out in the Independent, I know, this Thursday. And then you were instrumental, I think, in connecting the label with this POPSICKO stuff too. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, 2020 obviously was a super weird year. We all had kind of a lot of time to sit around and reflect and think about a lot of things in our lives. And one of the things that kind of caught my attention was the passing of Keith's death. The anniversary of Keith's death happened in November, and then his birthday.
How many years was that?
Geez, it was he passed away in 95. So
yeah, he died November 7th, 1995.
Yeah, so
Right,
26 years.
Wow.
Yeah, long time. And then his birthday came around, and it's kind of hard to explain how much meeting that guy when I was in high school changed the entire direction of my life. I was just feeling a little like, I could be doing a better job of helping keep his memory and his music alive. And at the same time, I'd started doing all these interviews with musicians on my Medium page. And so I just reached out to Marko and Mick and Tim and said, hey, would you guys be cool answering some questions? And right away, they were into it. They were stoked. They got what I was going for. And we thought it was just going to be this like couple email exchanges. And then you have to remember it's Marko and I. So
right.
The next thing that happened is, hey, maybe we should re-release the music, and hey, maybe we should get quotes from other people who were around the band at that time, and hey, maybe we should have the Santa Barbara Independent put this out rather than your Medium page. So it kind of snowballed in a really beautiful way, and it gave me a chance to like collaborate with all these guys and reconnect with them on something that's pretty meaningful.
Very cool. That's super cool.
And honestly, like, the years go by as anyone who's in our generation can attest that, the time just flies by. They say the days get longer, the years get shorter, right? But like to younger people who are like, their heads are spinning. They're like 26 years ago. Well, trust me, like 26 years goes by quick.
Yeah.
And, life goes on. Coulter went on, he did Ride Al High, he did his band Czar, he's done all these other things. He's, written all these novels and had a whole career. I went on and did, I played in tons of bands. After POPSICKO, I did My Records, which was that label with Joey Cape where we put out Nerf Herder's record and Ride Al High's record, actually. Small world, very incestuous. And then I went back to playing music, and I played in the Ataris for a little while. I toured with the band The Swingin' Utters, and then eventually found my way switching to guitar and doing Sugar Cult, and that was like for years and years and years. And all the way through, POPSICKO has always been a thing, no matter where I was ever in the world. When I was on tour with the Swingin' Utters, I remember being in Prague. This is in 1997. In Prague, Czech Republic, and finding a payphone and using one of those wonky European payphones with putting coins in it to call Keith's mom, Linda. Like from wherever I was in the world, I would always call Keith's mom on November 7th, on the day that of his accident, because I knew she was probably having a hard time. And I just would always that's the kind of the best I could do through the years to sort of keep Keith's flame burning in my heart. And but I always had the intention that at some point when I get that POPSICKO music out to people, maybe I'll do it for the 10-year anniversary, maybe do it for the 20-year, and then all of a sudden here we are in 2020, and Coulter and I are on the phone, and for very similar reasons, we're both starting to think dude, 2020 was a year of a lot of reflection for a lot of people, and it was a year of feeling like not taking what you've got for granted. Hey, we're still here. What do we do while we're still here now? What do we, let's get our rock and roll affairs in order. And if we have music that people need to hear, let's put it out there so people can hear it.
Totally.
This you listen back to music you made a long time ago and you hope it doesn't make you cringe.
Yeah.
I go back and listen to POPSICKO, and it's like the opposite of cringe. It makes me, I can't believe I was part of it. I'm like, something I would fucking buy at a store and be stoked to have as a fan,
Well, all the times that I play it here on the show, there's the faction of the community that's like, oh yeah, this is my jam or whatever. And then there's the people who are like, what is this? How do I not know about this?
That's the thing. It's well, that's amazing to hear, Luke, but Coulter and I have talked about this. It's really weird. The last song on our record was called To Would Have Beens, and it was the chorus is to would have beens, could have been, should have beens. And I always think, no matter what other success I've had in different bands, I always think of POPSICKO as the one that got away. I always think of it as God dang. It wasn't that we didn't pull it because the music wasn't good, or because the band wasn't good, or because we tried and then the music failed. It was because we just got cut short.
Right.
Because Keith died young, So just the fact that this music's coming out, and again, there was never an ideal time to put it out, because it was oh, Sugar Cult's too busy, or this is happening, or too many things in our lives. You're living your own life. You don't have enough time for proper retrospect. But all of a sudden, here we are, and it's it feels, for some reason, even though it's seems kind of random, it feels like the right time to put it out. Feels I'm glad we waited, because people are going to be able to experience this in whichever way they want. They can find it digitally. It's gonna the label that's gonna help us put it out is gonna put out a digital single. When's that coming out again, Coulter?
It's supposed to come out on July 16th.
So July 16th, Nastasha and Getting Used to You, right? That's the A side and B side. So we got two of our songs coming out for the first time ever digitally. You can't find POPSICKO on Apple Music or Spotify. So you can actually buy the downloads, or you can access the streams. And then we're going to do a vinyl pressing through this really cool power pop label called Big Stir Records, which put out more connections for anyone who's still following. The record that Steve's project, The Brothers Steve, made with Luke right here producing. So it all comes back around. Same label. There's so much POPSICKO that needs to be heard, and
that's awesome.
I'm just glad it's finally going to happen. And Coulter just made me kind of get the chills for a second when you reminded me that it's been 26 years, because that's exactly how old Keith was when he died.
So it would
he
have
only
been
lived
his,
to be 26.
Right.
Our band has been gone for as long as Keith's life ever lasted at this point.
Yeah.
That's just insane to me.
We've all lived exactly another lifetime of his. It's pretty bizarre. You know, here's another sort of chilling thing that around Keith's death is I was up here in Santa Barbara for some reason, and I was going back down to LA, and Keith gave me like a press pack of things about POPSICKO to give to the guy who put out the POPSICKO record. So I brought stuff down to LA for him, and he died a couple days later or something. And so I still made that drop to the guy, but it was like, hey, Keith gave me this stuff that I'm supposed to give to you. And super weird. It was like, well, here's that stuff.
I remember sitting in my room. I wish I had it with me right now, changing my bass strings one night. It was like a rainy night, changing my bass strings, and I get this call, and it was just like, that was it. Like that was like the end shattering of my youth.
Right.
It was just the moment to hear that Keith had been in an accident, and
yeah.
And like I immediately, like just like intuitively, I got out like a switchblade and carved his name in the back of my bass. So I still
remember that vividly.
Yeah. And like, I mean, I remember that was just like, you remember that? Like we were all just like kind of living at Tim Cullen's house, just like crying and drinking for like a week straight, you know?
Yeah. It's a weird.
It was crazy.
I mean, since then we've all had that type of rug pulled out from underneath us a lot more than we should have for the age that we are. But at that point, that was
the first one.
That was really like, whoa.
And then a couple years later, Lynn Strait in almost the same exact,
place.
Yeah, almost the
same way, same place, right?
Yeah. Just so heartbreaking. But yeah, again, not to dwell on the sad part, but the beauty of it is, thank goodness he wrote all those songs and we made those recordings.
Getting used to you. Yes, I'm getting used to you. Well, I'm getting used to you. And I'm starting to like the things you do.
I remember sitting around, like we were that band that was like, labels were starting to say, oh, you guys, because we were kind of coming around the time of Nirvana and Soul Asylum, and our band sort of sounded kind of like a combination of like Soul Asylum, Nirvana, Replacements, Cheap Trick, a little bit of like, there was things like Weezer happening. We actually played, Weezer opened for us in Santa Barbara. And
I remember that show. Look at that. That bill is insane.
I know, it's funny because we also got Green Thumb that had like Chris and Scott Shiflett, Josh Freese on drums.
Yeah.
Bill Armstrong on guitar, who ended up joining forces with Joe Sib from Wax and starting a label called Side One Dummy that became enormously successful. You know, Flogging Molly, Gaslight Anthem, all the stuff they did. And then, of course, Weezer. And Weezer had just got, like, I remember them giving me, I wish I could, maybe I have it somewhere, Rivers giving me, like, a promo copy of his, advanced copy of his record. He's like, dude, we just finished making this with Rick Ocasek from the Cars. But there was a moment where, like, it was like, holy shit, like, Nirvana had happened. Green Day was starting to pop. We opened for Green Day right on their first run of shows for their Dookie tour. So right before their radio song blew up.
Crazy, yeah.
Opened for them in Santa Barbara. And, like, we just smelled the writing on the wall was like, this band might fucking work. Labels were checking us out. But for some reason, we just thought, you know what? Let's just make the record ourselves. Keith had the resources, and we were like, and I'm so glad we did. Keith, he ate, slept, and breathed this record. This record is Keith's like gift to the future.
Yeah,
almost
cool.
Like it sucks. I mean, of course, it's terrible that he had to die because he had so many more songs to write, so much more life to live, and so many more memories to create. But like, thank goodness we have that like kind of message in a bottle.
It's amazing you told me, I'm standing who know me, passing through, I'm demanding heaven knows.
When I say that like getting to know him changed my life, I got randomly sat next to the guy in the second half of 10th grade
Amazing.
And it was like, hey, I just bought a guitar. And I was like, that's funny, I have drums.
Right.
And that's how we started playing together. It was just that simple. Like my
Right.
mom had to drive me to his house
Right.
to set up my drums and play. And like out of the gate, he was like, yo, you should listen to the Stooges and you should listen to the Velvet Underground, and like completely just changed my worldview on rock and roll. And then like, you know,
100%.
he and I bonded and like, you know, went off on all these crazy adventures together. But a lot of the music I listen to now, I still credit back to those early days with Keith when he was like, it's cool that you like Def Leppard and it's cool that you like 7 Seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
You gotta check this stuff out, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
That's
And
cool.
it's so true. He was definitely like, I mean, I have full confidence. I don't know. I want to believe that I would have been along for the ride, but I have full confidence that with or without POPSICKO, Keith would have gone on to become like an icon of 90s rock, like up
Yeah.
there with the Billy Corgans and Dave Grohls and Eddie Vedders and whoever and Trent Reznor's. You know, he had that thing that that comes along once in a generation.
I wonder what she's wearing. She makes me impressed or something.
There was a void in our scene for a while after Keith died. I don't want to sound self-important and act like POPSICKO was like the biggest band in town, but like right before Keith died, we probably got to ring that bell for a second. We were on the cover of the Independent, you know,
Yeah.
we put a record out, and it felt like, hey, there's a scene that we're like nurtured, and there's a group of friends around it. There's just something in the air, and then suddenly it was gone, and it was a really awkward silence for about a year until everybody sort of found their footing again.
This Thursday, this story about POPSICKO comes out in the Independent, the Santa Barbara Independent. And then July 16th is when the first 2-song thing comes out on Big Stir. And what are those songs again that are on the first one?
Nastasia, which is
Stasha.
also the first song on our record,
Uh-huh.
Off to a Bad Start, and usually the song that we played first at our live shows, if you remember seeing us.
Totally.
And then the song, the B-side, you know, we still sing
Yeah.
the B-side, even though this is just a digital single. The B-side is Getting Used to You. Nastasia is Keith Brown and Tim Cullen co-write, and actually you can hear Tim's voice. You'll know it when you hear it. He has like little bits of the song where he takes lead and sings, but it's primarily Keith singing lead. And then Getting Used to You was one that Keith brought to the table, and we all worked on it together. I mean, it was almost like a unanimous thing. Like, obviously, the first single needs to be Nastasia, because that was always the one we played first live and the first song on the record, and one of the first songs we actually had as a band, to be honest.
Yeah.
That was kind of one of the songs that sort of set the wheels in motion for what we were going to go for.
And then there's another 2-songer coming in after that. Did I make that up?
That's still in the works, and so
Okay.
there'll be another digital single coming down the pike, and then eventually, you know, the vinyl, very limited vinyl pressing of this. So you'll want to, like, if you're interested in this at all, definitely go to Big Stir and, like, you know, sign up for their email or whatever, so you're part of the like inner circle, because they're gonna send out a thing at some point and be like, all right, pre-orders for POPSICKO's vinyl. You know, just to be totally real, that's how it's going to be done. It's going to be like it's going to go on pre-order, and it's going to hopefully sell out, and then a couple months later the vinyl will get shipped to whoever was that pre-ordered. So you're not going to like go to a record store and see it in the racks and go, oh, I think I'll buy this. Like, you have to like buy it ahead of time,
Right?
You know. And I think, you know, so much gratitude to Steve Coulter for just brokering that whole relationship and that whole connection with Big Stir, with Rex and Christina. They're just like super lovely people. They play in a great band themselves. They just love music, and they have a label that put out all this cool stuff.
Yeah, for those of you watching this, the world that these people have created is really cool. I've delved into it a little bit. I'm super psyched for that. I've been pretty good about quelling my consumer hoarding tendencies, but I know I won't be able to when that POPSICKO stuff comes out. I will have to have that.
Oh, dude, I will personally buy you a copy of it.
All right.
You have to have a copy. I mean, that's going to be the thing. We're going to end up wanting to buy them all ourselves so we can give them to our friends.
Well, you guys, thank you so much for mostly for doing all the work that I know it took to get this happening, but also thanks for coming here and talking to the peeps about it.
Oh, dude, thanks for having us. And yeah, just look out for that, you know, print issue of the Independent. And if not, just I think it's just independent.com, or if you just search Santa Barbara Independent, it should be online. And for the Popsicle oral history, because Steve, I gotta, Coulter did such a this was not just a journalist doing a story on a band. This was like a best friend doing it on behalf of someone who, speak for himself right now. And so Keith would be so touched by this, and I just I was like blown away when Steve sent me an advanced thing of it, and I was reading it, like the way he did kind of like oral history, like if you've read the book Please Kill Me, or the more recently the book Nothing But a Good Time, great book, where it's like different.
I read it today. I read the piece on POPSICKO.
Yeah, so like the way he organized everyone talking, and it's just like bringing everybody in who was a part of the story, and so it's all in there, and it kind of untangles the web of that time. Maybe time is forgotten in some people's minds who actually were there, and then for people who weren't born yet, or they're going to be like, "Fuck, this is cool, man. This is a story." And for people that were maybe just too young to like be in the scene, but they like heard about it from their older sibling or from whatever. It's just cool that this is going to happen. And above all, it's about the music. And I'm just super stoked and grateful that like, finally this music's going to be available to people in a way other than like me, like getting your address and sending you a copy of the CD, which is, I still have like 2 boxes of them. If anybody wants to DM me their address, I'll send you a copy of this.
Okay.
I'll point a couple of things out, Marco. One, for the Santa Barbara Independent, my intro is going to be in print, but the oral history is only going to be online. So the print will point to online.
Oh, okay.
And then there'll be extra pictures there and some of the flyers you sent in.
Cool. So I'll get that link so I can put that in the chat.
I'll send you the link. And then also, I had a conversation with Rex today from Big Stir Records, and he said he may be putting those 2 songs up early. So if you're here right now and you go to bigstirrecords.com on their homepage, you might be able to snag those 2 songs from POPSICKO early, because we want people who are excited about it to be able to get it right away. So the official, it'll hit the DSPs on the 16th, but by the time this comes out, I think we'll be able to actually grab those.
Well, in any case, Luke, please play Nastasia and Getting Used to You so people know what
they're in for. Yeah, will do.
So if they go like, oh, dude, this is rad, I'm gonna check it out, or they might go, oh my god, this is Railer, I'm not even gonna fucking.
I will say too, Luke, thank you so much, because like, again, the way this thing kind of snowballed in a beautiful way was a really rewarding project to work on with Mick and Tim and Marco and Rex and Christina from Big Stir. But when Marco and I were thinking about like, if we wanted to talk to anybody about it, obviously it's this show, right? This is the Don's John of Twitch, right?
Yeah.
So like, thank you so much for making time and helping us tell more people about it.
Yeah, totally my pleasure. Well, we've talked way too much to say that we're just going to let the music do the talking. But ladies and gentlemen, Steve Coulter, Marko DeSantis, let's now have a little listen to some POPSICKO, shall we?
All right. Thanks, Luke.
Love you guys.
Love you, man.
Dude. Cheers.